Go after your dreams with unrelenting determination and joy as a child does. Never stop believing and pushing forward. Never rest on your past laurels, satisfied with what you've achieved thus far. Satisfaction is the death of desire. My world, my rituals. I have them before I hit the stage. I burn incense, listen to Bob Marley, stretch, chant mantras, and focus on what I'm about to do. Before Ironman races, it's no different. I set out all my gear, eat the same thing, oatmeal with almond butter and fruit, then walk and chant on my meditation beads near the water. I need Neptune in my corner to help me get through that 2.4-mile swim. As a matter of fact, I just finished the hardest Ironman I've ever attempted. It was my second time in Kona, Hawaii, at the 2017 Ironman World Championship. I had to deal with insane heat, crazy winds, rolling hills, and hours of solitude out there on the Queen K Highway. I put in a decent 2.4-mile open water swim and was about to PR on the bike course. I was setting a personal record. Then, just shy of the 80-mile marker, the stabbing pain in my right side began. It was unbearable. After the 112 miles on the bike, I got to T2, transition area bike to run, and it continued, even getting worse. I put my running shoes on, blocked out my enemy mind, and hobbled onto the run course. As I hit the first aid station, 3 miles in, the vomiting started. Projectile vomiting, in fact, and it didn't stop for the entire 26.2-mile marathon. I threw up over 20 times, couldn't keep fluids down, and my hands swelled to 3 times their size. My feet swelled as well. My head pounded, my body ached, and I hurt from head to toe. But I never thought for a single moment about quitting. I walked and ran the marathon and crossed the finish line with my head up and tears in my eyes. Truth be told, you would have had to carry my ass off that course before I quit. See, I was racing for Alexander Owens, a very brave 4-year-old boy with a deadly disease called NF. I found out later that many athletes got sick because the week of heavy rain prior to the race had washed sewage into the swim course, which we had trained in all week. Yep, it was a stomach virus, and I attribute finishing that race to the fact I had done my rituals that morning, and so I was prepared mentally to accomplish my goals. They put me in a different mindset and took me to a place where I knew there was no room for complacency. Many of the world's best athletes have rituals as well. Case in point, the greatest professional basketball player of all time, Michael Jordan. Did you know that while leading the Chicago Bulls to 6 NBA championships, the 5-time MVP wore his University of North Carolina shorts under his uniform without fail during every game? People do rituals with the intention of achieving what they set out to do. Rituals enhance people's confidence in their abilities, motivate them to greater efforts, and improve performance. Now, I'm no psychologist, but I can speak to what I know to be true. And that is that my rituals take me off the mundane platform, silence the enemy mind, and help me tap into an unlimited power source. From that place, I don't doubt the outcome even for a minute. I suggest you find your rituals and give it a try. Doesn't matter what those rituals are or what other people think of them. They're for you and you alone. Your rituals let you know that shit is about to get real. They put you in a warrior's mindset. Teamwork works. There's strength in numbers. So surround yourself with people interested in what you're interested in. Schedule training and other events around the team. Then you're not alone and are therefore less likely to flake. If I have to cycle on a cold-ass day and there are people waiting for me at the 59th Street Bridge, there's no way in hell I'm not showing up. I can't let my friends down. Remember, a single stick can be snapped, so join the bunch. There's a reason the military pushes teamwork and unit integrity on recruits. It's not just about one soldier making it home from the battlefield. It's about the unit making it home. You fight for the person next to you. I've talked to guys who have years of combat experience. They've each said that when the real shit hit the fan and the bullets were flying, it wasn't their country's flag that motivated them to fight like hell. It was the guys next to them, those with whom they trained for years. These men had played with each other's kids, loved one another like brothers. The bonds they developed through teamwork made them willing to do whatever it took for all of them to make it home. That type of camaraderie brings out the best in people. You may not be under attack in Fallujah, but even in your day-to-day life, surrounding yourself with others who have similar interests and are willing to work hard to achieve similar goals has great benefits. There's a special energy to the collective spirit of people uniting to achieve something. Big companies like Google do it. They facilitate teamwork by holding retreats and seminars and group consultations on projects, along with meditation workshops or other such group activities, because teams produce results. I come from the New York punk hardcore scene. Been in it since 1977 when I was just a kid. I never really had a family in the true sense of the word. So these people became my tribe. I've seen this community of people do amazing things over the years, including help people get sober, playing benefit shows to cover medical bills for someone with cancer, replacing stolen gear, and spreading the worldwide movement of PMA, veganism, and positive change among the youth. I owe this music scene a great debt. I survived the downsides of the music scene in general because I always tried to hang around the positive people and work as a team. That's helped steer me to what I'm doing today. I look around this worldwide scene and I can tell you one thing for sure. These are the real thinkers in society. They're up on all the knowledge, so they'll be the ones to effect real change on the planet in years to come. I'm very proud to know so many of them and share our collective passion for health, fitness, a compassionate diet, PMA, and philosophy. But the only way any of this developed is because we've worked together. Teamwork. Don't think you can go it alone. You can't. The pressures of the day-to-day bullshit will snap you like a twig. Develop friendships and work in teams. Confide in one another. Develop trust and unit integrity. That team helped lift me out of the world of shit I was in. It doesn't matter what you're dealing with. If you look for a group of individuals who have made it their business to overpower and overcome negative influences, you'll succeed. The worst mistake you can make when times are hard is to isolate yourself. Don't do it. I too have been given this powerful instruction over the years, so I'm passing it on. All you have to do is get your ass on that PMA train, work in a team, and you'll slowly come out of whatever it is that's going on. Reset your clock, get regulated. I conducted a 1-week experiment a little while back. I got up 2 hours earlier than I normally do, which is already pretty early, and just started my day. Of course, getting up that early required me getting to bed earlier so I was well rested. And my eating habits also had to change. No late dinners, earlier breakfasts. The amount of work I got done by noon was incredible. As a matter of fact, I like the byproducts of my experiments so much that I've stayed with it. It's helped me become much more productive in all areas of my life. Fact. The body is designed to function with the progression of the day from sunrise to high noon to sunset. The fire of digestion even works with the phases of the sun. That is, it's strongest at midday. Therefore, that's when you should eat your heaviest meal. Regulating your eating and sleeping is essential. When you do, your body will work like a well-oiled machine. When I was a monk, they told us constantly to stay regulated. That meant waking up at the same time each morning, showering, meditating, or other spiritual practices, eating, exercising, studying, service. Then repeat it the next day and the next. I'm telling you from my own experience that being with the program for close to 3 years in the early 80s paid off. And I still carry the benefits of that physical and mental routine to this day. Give it a try. Get to bed a little earlier and then rise a little earlier. Turn off the TV earlier. Get off the internet. Stop checking your Facebook page at 1:30 in the morning to see who talked shit on your latest upload. Then use the time you reclaim to reset your clock. Maybe read a book, exercise a little, be creative. Tackle that thing you've been putting off. Spend more time with your kids. Whatever. You'll see day by day that things will get done. You'll accomplish goals and be in a better mood. Your attitude will change in all areas of your life. So unless you work the night shift, get your ass out of bed early. Enjoy a sunrise. Watch the day evolve as the 3 modes of material nature flow through the day. Morning, goodness. Afternoon, passion. Night, ignorance. I monitor the modes every day living in New York City. It's calm before sunrise. The Vedas call those early hours Brahma Muhurta. Then the sun rises, and all of a sudden, here comes the fucking insanity with honking traffic, yelling people, and all kinds of chatter and other mindless noise. That ratchets up through the day until at night, the intoxicated step out, make bad choices, fight, vomit, and piss all over my block. That's why they say nothing good ever happens after midnight, the witching hour. You can remove so much unnecessary bullshit, drama, and negativity simply by extricating yourself from that so-called nightlife. Resetting your clock and staying regulated will reset your mood. It'll give you PMA throughout your day. You'll eventually rise above the 3 modes of nature to the spiritual realm. But in order to do that, you first have to come to the mode of goodness. And the mode of goodness requires getting up early and staying regulated, along with meditating, being mindful, exercise, and eating foods that are in the mode of goodness. All of these work in tandem to help you evolve. I mean, that's the goal of this book, right? To evolve. As I said, PMA isn't the be-all and end-all of life, but it's a great fucking place to start. Something you need in order to progress. But there's so much more to becoming your very best self than that. What really counts is personal growth in the truest part of you, the soul. Make no mistake, when you reset your clock and regulate your daily activities, you are fast-tracking toward that bigger goal. It shows your higher power that you care, that you're making a serious effort. As it's said in the Bhagavad Gita, and I quote, when you take 1 step toward Krishna or your path, Krishna takes 1,000 steps toward you. First move is yours, though. Start by resetting your clock and getting into a mode of goodness routine. Don't piss away this human form of life. It's a gift. Be grateful for it. Your human body is the vehicle that will take you, its driver, to some pretty amazing destinations. On that note, I'll leave you with this verse from the timeless Bhagavad Gita as it is, along with the purport written by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. It's from the second chapter, Contents of the Gita Summarized, Text 69. I've included the Sanskrit transliteration. Yanisha sarva bhutanam tashyam jargati samyami yasham dagrati bhutani sanisha pashyato muneha. What is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-controlled, and the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage. Purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. There are two classes of intelligent men. The one is intelligent in material activities for sense gratification, and the other is introspective and awake to the cultivation of self-realization. Activities of the introspective sage or thoughtful man are night for persons materially absorbed. Materialistic persons remain asleep in such a night due to their ignorance of self-realization. The introspective sage remains alert in the night of the materialistic men. The sage feels transcendental pleasure in the gradual advancement of spiritual culture, whereas the man in materialistic activities, being asleep to self-realization, dreams of varieties of sense pleasure, feeling sometimes happy and sometimes distressed in his sleeping condition. The introspective man is always indifferent to materialistic happiness and distress. He goes on with his self-realization activities undisturbed by material reactions. Hit a home run daily. I just played a concert in San Diego. A friend of mine who's a Navy SEAL came out with his son before the show and we talked. Well, mostly he talked and I listened. That's what you do when you're around those types. You pick their brains. My friend had just come off multiple overseas deployments where he was a team leader. That means not only was he responsible for himself, but he had to keep his entire team of badasses working as a unit, fired up, ready to go at a moment's notice. Trust me, you don't get to be a team leader in the SEALs unless you have certain qualities. They include the ability to work through any situation and not lose your shit. You can't. You have other men counting on you. Anyway, he was telling me his current life philosophy. Hit a home run every day. He broke it down to bases. First base means he gets up and trains with his men. Second base means he takes care of things he needs to do for work. Third base, he trains in combat sports, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai. And home plate means he goes home and works on his relationship with his wife and kids. If you want to be like great men, you do what great men do and you do it daily. You don't make excuses, you get it done. People who make excuses don't get anywhere in my friend's line of work. So step up to the plate, bat in hand, and take a big swing. Learn from the past. We all screw up and make mistakes. That's part of life. To err is human. As long as you learn from your mistakes, you're better because you made them. If you know something is going to bite you on the ass, you should have better sense. But if you didn't, pay more attention next time. Remember those 3 classes of intelligence. Most of us have to get burned a few times before we learn not to touch the flame. No decision should be made recklessly. That's why these days when something comes up that I've seen before, I look at my past in order to choose the correct action in my present. Philosopher George Santayana writes that if you don't remember your past, you're doomed to repeat it. Very true. You should know, though, that when you do things with full knowledge of what went wrong the last time, and yet you consciously make the same mistake again, the lessons you'll be taught on the second round will likely be a bit heavier. That's how karma works. And believe me, it's real. So the best advice on making decisions is to weigh in on your past experiences. If you don't have any in a certain area, talk to someone who does. You can learn from the pasts of others too. If I know someone who was living large, making cash, dealing drugs, and then was sent to prison for 10 years, guess what? I'm not going to be selling drugs anytime soon. Don't be that person who after screwing up says, damn, I wish I could go back and change what I did. Travel back in time before you take action. Understand from previous mistakes, as well as the correct decisions you've made, those that brought you the desired result in a way that didn't compromise your integrity. Looking to the past is how you shape a positive future. Stay bulletproof. In this age of social media smack talking, people are always going to pop shit, lie, criticize, find fault, and direct it right at you. Now, instead of getting into a war of words or worse, going old school and throwing them a beating, practice one of the 4 agreements. Don't take things personally. Their smack talk is their poison. It can only affect you if you let it. These days, I'm like, let the bullets fly, fuckers. I could take anything you could fire at me. Why? Because I work on myself to become a better person every day, trying to learn and improve. My day is consumed by that, literally filled with positive action. I have amazing relationships and interact with amazing people. That's not by accident either. As I said, years ago, I chose to surround myself with those who want to help others instead of putting them down. I got no time for the crumb bums or their poison. As Don Miguel says, they're simply projecting their own hell onto you. Their words illuminate their own darkness. Insecure people project. That's what they do. I know many of you reading this, like me, have a tendency to take matters into your own hands. Don't. The universe is keeping score. Trust me, so let it. It's not your job to dish out the karma. Everyone gets exactly what they deserve in this life and the next. Your job, my job, is not to let what people say ruin our days, weeks, months, and years. I've grown exponentially on my path since I've been able to let shit go and not care what the crows have to say. Everyone knows that crows gather where the garbage is, so let them enjoy the stank. You be like Superman, bulletproof. Invest in sweat equity. In the late 80s, when I'd just gotten over my crack, pill, booze addictions, I ended up working construction in New York City. The guy I worked for, Robin, was a 6'6" black belt badass in karate, studying under a guy named Ko. It was one of Ko's students who wrote The Karate Kid. Robin got up at the crack of dawn, hit his gong, chanted his Buddhist mantras, took his kids to school, did hard manual labor all day long, then trained for hours at the dojo. I was renting a room in his space on 6th Street in those days, so I saw all this drive firsthand. One of the things he preached was sweat equity. You have to invest in what you want and be willing to bust your ass to get it. His hustle was insane. Even on job sites, katas were taught on breaks. There was no slacking, not ever. He said you had to produce, because if you didn't, you were off his crew. It was that simple. He played no favorites. It wasn't a popularity contest, and he didn't give a shit who you were. Produce or go the fuck home. See, Robin knew one very important factor in business as well as in life. There are people out there going after the same things we want. The competition was hustling, training, bidding on the same jobs, willing to work hard. So he knew the only way to get a leg up was to outwork them, to invest more sweat, to be relentless in his drive and ambition. If he knew his competition was going to get up at 6 a.m., he was up at 5 a.m. They worked 10-hour days. He's putting in 12. They played ball after work. He'd play 3 fucking full court games, then go chant and do 2 hours of martial arts. He was one of the most tenacious, driven people I knew back then, and I respected the hell out of him for that. I learned so much being around him right at a time when I was coming out of some really bad shit. The point I'm making here is that when your higher power sees you're willing to invest sweat equity, things manifest. They did for Robin and for me as well. When I opened a yoga center on St. Mark's some years back that fed people and gave free classes and books, all Robin's lessons paid off. I had a construction business of my own at the time, and I went to work every day. Then I went to build a yoga center after work and ran a crew. I'd sweat my ass off, sleep 3 or 4 hours a night, even work out, but I was never tired. My spiritual battery was charged. I knew what had to be done, and I did it. I also did it with PMA, never complaining. I had a few slackers volunteering, but I made them work their asses off too. And why did they do it? Because I was right there, sweating next to them, working harder, in fact, than they were. I was driven, invested 1,000%. For the entire 6 months it took us to build that center. A surfer friend on my crew commented, "It was the worst and the best time of my life." Yeah, I made him give up those big swell days when he wanted to drive out to Rockaway Beach with his surfboard. But in the end, when the center was finished and filled with the people we were helping, he knew every drop of sweat he'd invested had been worth it. I live by the code to not half-ass it in life. I mean, think about it. Who are you really getting over on anyway? You'll be weeded out by someone or by circumstances. The man or woman next to you will outwork you, outsweat you, and you'll be gone. Don't let that happen. Go after what you want with relentless drive, drita vrata, and do it with a clear head. Remember the mantra, intoxication destroys determination. God is omnipotent. He knows the exact number of drops of sweat you've invested in what you're doing. Don't slack. Work hard every damn day. Be all in and sweat, my friends. See adversity as a blessing. Every adversity has the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. Napoleon Hill. When I was a kid in that foster home, then alone on the streets, then locked up, I couldn't figure out why all that was happening to me. What the hell had I done to deserve it? I don't ask those questions anymore. I know those experiences were part of my journey. Adversity builds character, and true character is only revealed under pressure. The choices I made when times were tough defined who I am today, mistakes and all. My realizations on that are twofold. First, I now know that I was working out some past life karma. I was not a victim. I owed myself that suffering and the healing that followed it. Second, in the process, I gained so much first-hand knowledge of suffering and climbing out of it that now I'm able to pass it on to others who are going through their own karma. You too pay it forward. So if you're dealing with adversity, welcome the ride and do what it takes to work through it. Recognize the test, that it's your moment to shape both your character and your future. Don't look for sympathy like a victim. To be brutally honest, no one really cares. They have their own set of adverse circumstances going on. We all do. Take my advice and see the blessing that is your life. It's all a matter of perspective. Use what you have to advance on your journey. Out of everything I've told you in this book, this is it. If you could develop this type of perspective in your day-to-day dealings, you're going to achieve amazing things. You'll get your shit done under any and all circumstances. And that wonderful childhood baggage, yes, we all have it, will be left curbside for the trash man. Once I flip the script on my baggage, When I saw things for what they were and stopped playing the blame game, good things began to manifest. Was it easy? Hell no. But I wanted more out of life and needed to change in order to get there. My change was dependent, actually, on developing this perspective. So the next time you're dealing with adversity, when you're down in the muck, think about that Napoleon Hill statement I quoted up top. Meditate on it. Remember it. You'll be served very well by doing so. Your mind is faster than you are. Back when I first started my awakening in the early 80s, I bounced all over the place. From this ashram to that one. From New York to Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico to Hawaii. Hawaii to New York again. Things would come up and off I'd go. That's when one of the older devotees in the ashram told me that no matter where I went on this planet, I would be taking my mind with me. Man, was he right. I just met up with a friend in LA who's dealing with this exact same point. In the last 7 years, he's moved to and from New York City twice, to Florida, back out west to LA, and now he says he's moving back to New York City. He's always agitated, has no peace of mind, and can't focus. He's a great musician, but he can't even get his shit together to write an album. He's even changed his profession several times. It's always the same story. Something went down, and he had to move on to the next thing. No matter how fast you move, your mind will move faster. You can't leave it behind. It will haunt you. Whatever issues you have going on in one place will be there to greet you when you arrive in a new place. It's a pretty safe bet that those issues originated on the mental platform. That's why you have to stay put, stand your ground, and deal with things head on. As I said in the opening of this book, the Bhagavad Gita as it is says an uncontrolled mind can be your worst enemy. The only way to conquer the mind is to bring it under the control of the higher self by constant mindfulness, meditation, and tons of practice. One of the practices I do is to be conscious that I'm not the mind, but separate from it. The mind is a subtle energy, like the intelligence and the ego. I constantly reiterate this point throughout this book. We say, my mind, right? In 1981, when I started my yoga practice, I attended the Integral Yoga Institute. Before each class, the teachers instructed us to do this chant. Not the body, not the mind, eternal self I am. Actually, this has to be drilled into our fucking heads. We've been conditioned since birth to identify with the mind and body, and so we suffer. Mental suffering is the worst. It can be paralyzing. That's why that older devotee kept telling me, hey John, you need to get off the mental platform. Only when I began to practice seeing myself as above the mind did I begin to find peace. You can too. Just take time during your day-to-day internal inventory. Stay centered. Monitor the desires the mind is feeding you. Will they serve the higher self or drag you down to the depths of some mental hell or other? And remember that no matter where you run, the enemy mind will be waiting for you. If there's conflict between higher and lower selves, stand your ground as the higher self and fight. Prioritize your goals. This is where you go back to your corkboard and make adjustments. Prioritize your goals according to long and short term by rating them on a scale of 1 to 10. Which are the most urgent to achieve right now? An example, in my opinion, of an immediate one, sobriety. I'd make that number 1. Changing your diet would be number 2. That means that the book idea you've had in your head for a few years or the race you've been itching to run may have to settle a little farther down the page. It's up to you, of course, where you're at in your life. If you're already a clean and sober plant-based athlete, obviously your goal list will have a different set of priorities than the list of someone who's struggling with sobriety and a toxic diet. Also, ask yourself which goals you think about constantly. Putting things off and giving into resistance is a surefire way to have a run of shitty days. I'm speaking from experience here. It could be something as mundane as not accomplishing a goal I set to organize my papers. The enemy mind looks for the slightest crack in our armor to burrow through. Setting goals and prioritizing them comes down to time and circumstance. Which ones do I need in the moment? How important are each of them? Do they fall in line with the core values I've established for my life these days? Which can I commit the most energy to right now? Which goals can I achieve without others' help? Relying on others to get things done can let you down sometimes. So I make sure that many of both my short and long-term goals don't depend on needing someone to help me. I try to have as much control as I can over my goals' execution and outcome. Another important thing to ask yourself: why did you choose a particular goal? Are you motivated by ego so you can somehow prove yourself better than someone else? Or is it related to a burning, heartfelt desire for self-improvement? If you choose goals with a lower motivation, your commitment to them will fade down the road. Staying committed through the ups and downs will be checked if your reason isn't true and filled with integrity. Most of the people who choose egocentric goals give up, and giving up on goals is one way to crush your self-esteem. So always ask yourself, why do I want to do this? We never know what the outcome will be once we've achieved the goal. But I can tell you one thing for sure: seeing things through to the end and completing goals will open new doors for you. You'll learn a lot about yourself. That's why I always have new goals. I finish a race, I sign up for the next one. A book, what's the next one about, John? Setting goals and prioritizing them will keep you moving forward in a positive direction. And that, my friends, is the essence of a positive, fulfilling life. Change your world. Every day you're lucky enough to open your eyes is a chance for you to make a statement about the direction of your life, thought by thought, word by word, action by action. If you want to make changes in your world, start on the subtle level and work out from there. I mean, the entire change process starts with a desire in the mind. You have to meditate on how you want things to be and then take the appropriate actions. That's why the PMA effect is so vital to your process. The attitude with which you think, speak, and act is crucial. The circles in which I've run over the past 40 years have exposed me to a lot of people who are trying to overcome some pretty bad things, including addiction, childhood trauma, depression, even suicidal thoughts. Unfortunately, there were those who weren't able to overcome their circumstances. That's just real life, real talk. I will say this, though. The ones who pushed through all shared a similar mindset, had a particular quality about them. That is, they desired to heal so bad, it hurt. They wanted to change their lives so badly that they never let anything or anyone get in their way. That's what it takes. You have to want it, and you must constantly remember and learn from your past mistakes. When tests come, you have to stop, reflect on what the correct decision or path would look like, then and only then act. Changing your situation is a daily effort, and it requires proper decision-making every step of the way. Don't act impulsively. Think things through all the way to their end, as far as you're able to. I just saw an episode of this TV show, Locked Up Abroad, and this guy got over 20 years in one of the worst prisons in Thailand for smuggling 10 kilos of heroin. The prison was full of psychopaths who tried daily to kill him. He slipped into a depression, then madness. Finally, he broke and decided to kill himself the slow way by going on a hunger strike. He didn't eat anything for over a month. He was fading. Then a Muslim inmate sat outside his cell every day and told him he had no right to do what he was doing. A week later, other Muslim inmates began to pray outside his cell. 40 days into the fast, the prisoner couldn't see. His eyes stopped working. He could only see with his mind, and so he began to meditate. It was then that he decided he wanted to live and needed to change his world. He became a Muslim and meditated and prayed every day. 2 decades later, he was pardoned by the Thai government and extradited to the United States to serve another prison sentence. Still, he stayed on the path. At the end of the show, we see him sitting on a cliff overlooking the ocean in his home country, Australia. He spoke of his realizations about the hell he'd gone through. Reflecting brought all the pain back, and we can see the tears welling up in his eyes and hear his voice choking up. It was a real moment. He said everything he'd been through, everything that had brought him to those hellish places, were his own doing. It was his fault. The bad choices he'd made day after day, the seemingly insignificant things that had led him to such major changes. That's how the enemy mind cons us, little by little, piece by piece, until we're in a world of shit. When he was on the brink of death in Thailand, starving himself to death, he realized through his mindfulness practice that he was responsible for his suffering, and he decided to change his world. Despite his awareness of that, he remained in prison for most of his life. Still, he changed his perspective and found meaning. Hopefully we can learn something from his story. I know I did, not the least of which is that I never want to end up in that world. Like him, I have to make the proper choices every day. If I want to change my world for the better, I'll have to start that change during those subtle moments when I'm training my mind. The medieval Bhakti text, Sri Upadashamrita, translated as the Nectar of Instruction, notes that one of the qualities of the spiritual practitioners is that they're willing to reveal their minds in confidence. They accept help. As I said before throughout this book, never try to go it alone, because you'll lose that fight. If you are having bad thoughts and desires, stay around people who are positive and can help you. Those who have already changed their world, or at least are in the midst of doing it. Those people know the tricks the mind will use. Tell them what's going on. Don't isolate yourself. That's how we stay strong. Like the men who gathered around the hunger-striking prisoner and became his team, we too need a team. Take that shot. We miss 100% of the shots we never take. Wayne Gretzky. We've talked about prioritizing goals. Even more important, though, is taking action. Because if you don't take the shot, you can't catalyze change. I know quite a few people who got so caught up in the mental game, trying to figure out all the variables, that they never took the first step. So opportunity passed them by. Others just go for it. No fear of failure. They understand that any opportunity not taken is an opportunity lost. So true. I will go one step further and say that success favors the brave. Now that's not to say we should act willy-nilly and go at things unprepared. No. We have to position ourselves in order to take that shot for success, and positioning means preparation. Your preparation will determine how well you'll be able to take your best shot. Being prepared also reduces the fear factor. When I show up prepared at an Ironman starting line for the 2.4-mile swim, I'm better able to stay calm and to visualize that finish line. It definitely takes courage to take a shot at a goal. You expose yourself to ridicule. You have to get past that. You're the warrior stepping into the arena willing to shed blood, sweat, and tears. It's not the critics doing that. Critics don't do jack shit. Most critics are failures. Failures are often envious. You just can't worry about what others think. Just always do your best. Prepare yourself as best you can and go for it. Remember to stay consistent. To improve your ability when you're taking the shot means constantly working to improve, and that comes from discipline and determination. Staying open to new ways and always learning is also vital, as we've discussed. That's how you create opportunities. Not many succeed in just one shot. It's consistency and a willingness to be unafraid of failure that yields the best harvest. Have a beautiful obsession. Obsession, by definition, means an idea or thought that continually preoccupies or intrudes on a person's mind. Unfortunately, most people attach a negative connotation to the word. However, the reality is that being obsessed with one's endeavors, if those endeavors have value, is imperative to achieving your goals. For example, take the writing of this book. I've been at it for over 2 years. I'm consumed by it. I wake up and write. I have an experience during the day and jot down a note about it so I remember to use it in the book. Every bit of spare time I have, I'm at the computer. I think about it all through dinner, when I'm watching a movie, and right before my eyes close at night. It's, what will I write tomorrow? How can I improve what I've already written? Did I give it my best effort today? If not, I'll do better tomorrow. If that's not obsession, I don't know what is. But it's a healthy obsession. What makes it healthy is my hope and my intent that this book will meet the goal I set for it. It will help someone. I mean, the writing process has helped me tremendously in my day-to-day living. All the positive feelings that came as a result of doing the work, and all the digging deep and reflecting on some really bad stuff and how it made me feel, it was an austerity. If you remember, we defined austerity earlier as doing something hard in order to achieve a desired outcome. So what will your healthy obsession be? How will it drive you? Maybe it's to eat better, lose that extra 20 pounds, write your book, finish a marathon, start that philanthropic endeavor. Whatever it is, fall in love with the process of achieving it. No one has ever achieved anything great without some level of obsession. Actually, positive obsession fuels the creative process. Creativity coach Eric Maisel, PhD, states, and I quote, "Negative obsessions are a true negative for everyone, but most creators and all would-be creators simply aren't obsessed enough. For an artist, the absence of positive obsessions leads to long periods of blockage, repetitive work that bores the artist himself, and existential ailments of all sorts." End quote. Next question. How do we keep healthy obsessions burning? Here are a few suggestions that work for me. 1. Write your obsession on index cards so it's visible. Then pin it to your corkboard so it's in your face. A constant reminder of what you need to do. I can visualize mine because I've written it down. My writing teacher says if it's not written down, it does not exist. So make it happen, Captain. Write it down. 2. Dramatically cut down the time you spend watching TV and on social media sites. Trust me, you're not missing anything. I was just in LA for a week doing a reading and book signing, and I stayed at a place with no TV. That means there were no news programs pumping negative stories into my brain cells. No constant big pharma and poison food ads. Nothing. I even stayed off social media except to post about the events I was doing. I had no time for people's bullshit drama. Let me tell you, that was one of the most productive weeks I've had in months. So give it a try. Become a recluse in a sense by creating some silent space around yourself. Live with your obsession undiluted. 3. Become selective about who's in your social circle. Time is your most valuable commodity. Don't waste it on bullshit hangouts that won't take you closer to your goal. You also have to weed out the bugs, as they say in the military. Cut out the negative people completely. Most will try to plant demons of doubt in your enemy mind. Only chill with the go-getters, the A-type personalities who will instill confidence in you. They know anything's possible if you're willing to apply yourself. 4. Plan out your days down to the hour. Get a calendar. I have one. On it, I list everything I'll be doing the next day. I plan my days from the moment I wake up until bedtime. There are no days off. When I'm not working my job, I'm working my obsession, my career. Also, you have to learn to leave room, obviously, for contingencies, because things don't always go as planned. But know what's got to get done. Create a roadmap to success. 5. Finally, never worry about what others might think or say. You're weird, you're crazy, you're obsessed. Of course you're obsessed, but it's a good obsession. Do you know why most people use that word with its negative connotation? Or find it weird that you're focused, driven, and determined? Because most people are satisfied being mediocre. They fear breaking away from the herd. Taking risks is not who they are. But you can be different. You have dreams, yes, obsessions, a desire to achieve something great. So don't be afraid of a little alone time. It has worked for me. Always remember to be yourself. Stay true to the path you've chosen under any and all circumstances. As the great writer Oscar Wilde put it, be yourself. Everybody else is already taken. Wake your best wolf. Wolves are fascinating, highly social animals. Their famous howl is actually how they communicate with their pack mates and other wolves. They use that howl to gather the pack, defend their territory, maintain social bonds within the pack, and attract mates. Wolves are extremely motivated by hunger. They wake hungry and can eat anywhere from 5 to 14 pounds of meat a day. Nature has designed them to be carnivores, but hunts are only successful 3 to 14% of the time. So they survive on a feast or famine diet. They spend 35% of their time roaming, traveling 20 to 30 miles a day. But they may cover upwards of 100 miles in search of prey. And when that prey is in sight, they can run at a speed of almost 40 miles per hour in order to pull it down. I think there's a lot to be learned from a wolf's attitude. They're burning hunger, your goal. Do you wake hungry? Are you willing to endure adversity and stay resilient day after day, even if the object of your desire doesn't manifest immediately? Are you too prepared for a feast or famine diet? And when the goal is in sight, do you run at top speed, 100% focused on your kill? Wolves are also fearless. They'll attack animals much larger than themselves, although of course they hunt in packs. But trust me, wolves carry no dead weight in the pack. You either produce or you hit the bricks. I'd compare that to those we choose for our own pack, our social circle. We've already discussed that association is the key. Do you run with the hungry, top-tier, highly motivated wolves in your human pack? If you feel life is passing you by while others are succeeding, time to wake your inner wolf. Figure out what you want and go after it with relentless determination. You're capable of living the life you want. It only requires a change in attitude. Face what you fear. Don't run from it. I do one thing I fear every day. I tackle something that makes me uncomfortable. It's imperative that you're not afraid to face fear. There are no free rides. No one is going to carry you. No one owes you anything. If you want it, you'll have to be fearless and go after it. You also have to remain flexible because, like wolves, your hunt may only be successful 3 to 14% of the time. Do the wolves quit? Hell no. They're top of the food chain badasses. Many highly successful people will tell you that, like in storytelling, there's a gap between expectation and result. They tried something but didn't arrive where they intended. Because they remain flexible and open to change, however, they found another way. And in the end, they succeeded. Rigid humans who go by the book in every aspect of their lives, who need a schematic just to wipe their asses, will quit before the finish line. Flexible people, life's human wolves, will roll with life's punches and drive on to success. They know if they didn't make it kill today, there's always tomorrow. They'll show up day after day and put the work in. It's that relentless forward motion we've been talking about. PMA is not achieved by lazy people with full bellies. Stay hungry. Get PMA fit. In boot camp, the military uses 3 measures to define a recruit's level of fitness: strength, flexibility, and endurance. So what do you say we run with their model here? 1. Strength. PMA gives you the strength you need to weather life's storms. You'll develop muscles you never knew you had. Muscles that will get you through ups and downs, highs and lows, and allow you to carry loads and finish tasks. Never satisfied with mediocrity. You'll always go above and beyond to achieve what you want because you'll have built character, an internal bicep that's done thousands of curls and pull-ups. 2. Flexibility. Do you know what happens when you keep tightening a muscle, overworking it with heavy loads to the point of fatigue without taking the time to stretch it out? The muscle may be pulled or torn. That's why flexibility is important. I've learned this the hard way in my training by suffering numerous injuries. Now I stretch all the time. The fact is that PMA will teach you to become flexible in your decision making, to look at all sides of any equation, to realize that you're not going to be right all of the time. You'll learn to find other ways to do things. Flexibility will help you with resilience too. Muscles become resilient and recover quickly when you stretch them before and after you work them. Same deal with the rest of your life. 3. Endurance. Much like a long-distance runner or an Ironman, endurance is achieved by countless hours of training, pushing through lactic thresholds. Without endurance, you can have all the strength and flexibility you want, but if you're only good for short bursts, you won't get far. That's why developing a positive mindset is vital. Much like that story of Mark Allen, who kept missing his chance to win the Kona World Championship. As soon as he changed his thought process through meditation, he won year after year. 6 times, in fact. The military also pushes recruits hard so that they have the endurance to stay in the fight physically as well as mentally. They actually put challenges in special ops training in order to teach this principle. Those who can't push through are dropped. As they say, most plans never survive the first contact with the enemy. In our case, the enemy is the mind. The mind will attack you relentlessly unless you are strong, flexible enough to change battle tactics when necessary, and are in it for the duration. Life is not a sprint, so work on endurance through PMA, and you'll be in it for the long haul. Those who have this attitude simply don't quit. That alone makes them winners. Make others happy. There are so many books being written on how to be happy. Most people find happiness elusive, and those who try to achieve it by conventional means tend to fail miserably. The reason for this is that their quests are usually self-centered. Sorry, Charlie, but life doesn't work like that. We're both interconnected and interdependent. The I mean mine generation is finding this out the hard way, and trust me, the guys selling the prescription antidepressants are loving what's going on. I was walking through New York streets the other day, watching everyone face down in their cell phones, letting life pass them by completely. We have so much comfort, so many gadgets meant to make life easier in this country, but we're also the most depressed, over-medicated group to ever walk the face of the earth. The esoteric teachings of yoga say the face is the index of the mind. So check out people's faces. Who seems happy? By my own stats, 99% of the people out there are not happy. Sure, they have fleeting moments of happiness, but most of the time, they're disappointed. There are many reasons for this, and I believe I've addressed a number of them in this book. But probably the biggest reason is cutting yourself off from others the way our cell phone society has done to us. I did a radio show recently. The woman who was hosting asked how I ended up with such a kind heart after all I'd been through. I answered in two parts. First, I told her I hadn't always been this way. In fact, I spent decades angry. But developing, and more importantly, maintaining PMA got me to where I am presently. Secondly, I became happy by serving others, devoting my energy to trying to make others happy. That has in turn made me a much more happy person. But that's how the world works. The more we give, the more we get. So the answer to modern man's quest for happiness is not going to be found in a prescription pill bottle, blunt beer, hallucinogenic video game, iPhone, house, car, clothes, or any of the temporary bullshit. Real, lasting happiness is found on the path of PMA, and it can be traversed quickly if you use the practice to serve others every day. Give it a shot. Just make sure you do it without expecting anything in return. That will make your kindness selfless. Remember the quote from Bhagavad Gita as it is? We have a right to the work, but we are not entitled to the results. A cause bigger than yourself. This also comes down to serving others, but on a much larger scale. The higher the level of service, the greater your resilience, because you understand completely that what you're doing isn't just about you. Not that you develop a Jesus complex or some nonsense like that, but you understand completely what has to be done because you're driven by a higher calling. That gives you passion and purpose. Holocaust survivor Dr. Viktor Frankl writes, and I quote, "He who has a why can bear any how," end quote. Did you see the movie Schindler's List? It tells the true story of Oskar Schindler, the German industrialist who saved the lives of over 1,200 Jews from the Nazi death camps by employing them in his factories. Talk about a higher calling. I don't know about you, but I cried like a baby during that film. Schindler's resolve to save those souls was incredible. He risked his life because had the scumbag Nazis caught him, he would have been executed as a traitor. When we're connected to something larger than ourselves, it gives us a sense of immortality. We know that those who are born are sure to die. But the deal is, when we work for a positive cause that will help people into future generations, our acts outlive us. Take, for example, what I and so many others are doing to stop the animal industrialists. That's about saving lives, isn't it? Damn straight. We're working to save the lives of billions of animals and millions of people, not to mention the planet itself. We're working like hell to turn the tide on this bullshit, because if we don't, there will be nothing left for our kids, or their kids after them. Not only that, but the vicious cycle of disease in which we currently find ourselves will just continue. Then there's also the byproduct of abstaining from flesh eating to create an evolution in consciousness for our species. That's the cause I've chosen, and it will no doubt outlive me. Educating people on health, spirituality, and things like beating addiction is what I do. I'm paying it forward because I have a karmic debt. In these causes, I've found my higher calling. Having a purpose bigger than myself is so vital to my PMA. Without it, I'm lost. We wander through life so unsure of things. The greatest thing we can do is to help others. Nothing else matters. Really, that's no bullshit. I'm not after fame, money, or adoration in what I do. All those will be useless at the time of death. What matters most to me is reaching out to others. This book is also an effort to do that. Even if only one person turns his or her life around because of what I've written here, my book will be a success. I'm willing to bet it will help more than one, though. Not because I'm so smart, but because the information contained here, information I've gathered over almost 4 decades, saved my own life. The upside of serving a cause greater than yourself is that you're never on the losing end of the equation. You develop a sense of community when you take up a cause. You meet new friends, make new acquaintances, most of them positive people with goals similar to yours. Some people have even found spouses among cause participants, people with similar interests and who, like them, are reaching for the mode of goodness. Here's an example. Raising close to $100,000 for my NF hero Alexander Owens through the Children's Tumor Foundation. We did all kinds of fundraisers, 10K runs, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu events, benefit concerts, online auctions, fitness challenges. I have met so many amazing people through this cause. People with whom I'm still great friends with to this day. And I'm lucky as hell to have them in my life. It's also brought me unconditional love for the entire Owens family. I knew going into this cause that would happen. That's why I did it. As I said earlier, it's okay to be selfish, as long as what you're doing will make you a better person. Racing Kona Ironman twice for Alexander, meeting amazing people, and raising both money for and awareness of the disease has definitely done that for me. So find your calling, your higher cause, and stick with it. Keep it in the center of your day. Be all about it. Be all in. There is no loss or diminution on the path. There's only unlimited, ever-expanding happiness and PMA. Stay high forever. I get high. I do it every day. Matter of fact, I get fucking wasted. Oh, and I'm 100% clean and sober. My high doesn't come from poisoning myself with artificial stimulants through intoxication. It comes from things like meditation, chanting mantras, playing music, writing, exercise, yoga, talking philosophy, organic plant-based meals cooked and eaten with friends, and all the other positive things I do daily. As Isaac Newton proved, what goes up must come down. That's also true with drugs and alcohol. The crash is hard, and you're always in a worse place afterward. If you really want to get high and stay high, work on yourself. PMA will get you there. Expect to sacrifice. The work is, as it says in Bhakti philosophy, about removing anarthas, unwanted things, or literally things that work against your self-interest. Good things don't come cheaply. Remember, no sahajas allowed. Sahajas take things cheaply. So if you want real enlightenment, which we all do, although only some know it, it will require sobriety. No amount of material sense gratification can make you happy. Only the growth of your internal spiritual dimension can do that. So sure, acid or other hallucinogenics might give you a tiny glimpse into another dimension or realm of consciousness, but because it's artificial, you'll end up in a world of shit. You can't touch spirit by standing on matter. Instead, do the work to find your spiritual self and get high on that enlightenment. Then you'll stay high forever. Fall in love with life. Please, 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 don't take your life for granted. Life is such a fragile thing. We're here for but a short time, so let's vow to live life to the fullest and go after what we want. If things aren't going according to plan, fix them. Don't complain. Make changes. Look forward to every new day. That's how I roll. I hope you will too. As I get older, more and more of the people I know are getting sick and passing away. It really sucks. But if I'm to take anything positive away from that loss, it's resolve. Some have even told me from their deathbeds, John, go after shit, man. Get everything you want in life. Do it for me because I can't do it now. I get choked up even thinking about my friends' final moments, and I will not turn a deaf ear to their words. They implored me to spread whatever knowledge I have. So in my own limited way, I'm trying. I've actually seen a lot of death, but I've also witnessed firsthand all the amazing transformations that so many people have undergone. Many of them even cheated death for the moment by changing their paths. I did that too, but it's why I do what I do. I go to prisons, I mentor kids and adults. I'll go the extra mile to try to help someone. It's my service in this lifetime, my higher cause. I take no credit for it. I owe everything to those who have educated me, especially my Guru Maharaj, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who instructed me in Atma Tattva, the science of the self. He also told me that the Vedic knowledge is meant to deliver us from the suffering and contamination of our connection to matter. If you want to have your mind completely blown, do yourself a favor and read the first 10 verses of the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. When you do, you'll understand why I act with such urgency to help others. Just today, someone thanked me for writing my books because they've changed his life. I told him I am fool number one and that he should look to the source of any knowledge I've gathered. I also told him he could do that by getting Srila Prabhupada's books. I added, and here are my exact words, thank yourself. Yes, I may have written the books, but you, sir, you are the one who had the good sense to apply the knowledge contained in them. You did the work, and for that, congratulations are in order. The PMA Effect contains decades of lessons from classes down at the University of the Streets. I have nothing special that any of you don't have. I just wanted to change my life so badly that I went after it. Please do it too. Walk away from these pages with the determination to get more out of life, to improve yourself, and then to pay it forward. Fall in love with your life and live it to the fullest. Face your fears. Stop being afraid of change. Don't stay stuck, paralyzed by a fear of the unknown, of what's waiting around the next turn. Uncertainty is part of life. I was always pushed down uncertain roads. Pushed? Hell, I was shoved. So here's your nudge. And stop blaming yourself for past mistakes. Learn from them, yes, but forgive yourself. Be kind to you. To quote author Shannon L. Alder, accomplishments don't erase shame, hatred, cruelty, silence, ignorance, discrimination, low self-esteem, or immorality. It covers it up with a creative version of pride and ego. Only restitution, forgiving yourself and others, compassion, repentance, and living with dignity will ever erase the past. End quote. I love that statement because it's so damn true. If you wake up today, let yesterday's faults stay in the past. Don't be haunted by the demons of the past. The 4 agreements, which tell us not to take things personally, applies to all of us. You'll always make mistakes, even when you're high on PMA. But you'll get past them as you go around the many learning curves and turn the corner toward uncertainty. But love your life. That's why PMA is so important. Your negative mindset will tell you you're a fuck-up, but the PMA effect tells you to let it go, and here's another day to do the right thing. So push past your doubts and fears. Achieve greatness. Kick your enemy mind in the fucking ass. Come on, my brothers and sisters. Be all in. Turn pro today. Never give up. If you read my first book, The Evolution of a Cro-Magnon, you know that in the final words, I encourage people to live by the code of the true warrior, meaning never give up. Me, I never want to be that dude who laments over what could have been had I finished or even just started. Just do your best, be determined, and never quit. I'm not a great Iron Man, but do you know why I took up the sport? Because it teaches me focus, discipline, and most of all, determination. Iron men don't quit. I quit in Florida because I was unprepared. I became hypothermic and paid the price for it. But I knew right away I had to get back on that horse, and I did. Iron Man has helped me in so many areas of my life because of what it's taught me. Dritta vrata, single-minded determination. Help yourself. Build good friendships with those who get their shit done and make no excuses. Do you know the story of Liz Murray? She went from being homeless to graduating from Harvard. Her book, Breaking Night, is an amazing read. Both her parents were drug addicts. She talked about eating ice cubes and toothpaste with her sister when they were hungry because her parents had spent their welfare check on mainlining coke. Her mom died of AIDS when Liz was 15. Her father, who also had AIDS, spent the rent money on drugs until they lost their apartment. Her sister crashed on a friend's sofa, but Liz was homeless, sleeping on trains and in the streets. She went to school dirty, with lice in her hair, and was bullied. She pushed herself to graduate high school. Then she won a scholarship to Harvard. She was determination personified. She made something out of her life. Liz now works as an inspirational speaker, talking to teenagers about staying away from drugs and not letting hardship hold you back. She's given speeches alongside Tony Blair, Mikhail Gorbachev, and the Dalai Lama. Oprah Winfrey even gave her an award. Just stop and consider how deep she had to reach to do what she did. Talk about the warrior code in PMA. So whatever you're going through, be patient. It will pass. Under no circumstances should you ever let it stop your relentless forward motion. Everything we've talked about has taught you to see hardships as tests. Being tested at all means the finish line is in sight. Relish your victory when you get there, because the struggle made it so much more. That's why many rich kids end up being fuck-ups. They never had to work for anything. Most of us are different. We had no silver spoons. We've had to shed blood, sweat, and tears to get anything. So feel gratitude and appreciation. Hone your desires and stay hungry. You now have the tools to feed yourself. So thrive on, my friends. Afterthoughts. What's bugged out is I never intended to write this book. I mean, sure, I've always talked about the importance of PMA since I first heard about it from the Bad Brains way back in 1980. But a book? Nah. I'm not one of those self-help, new age nut jobs telling people how to micromanage their lives, right down to the way they wipe their asses in the morning. Although I am a left-hand front-to-back guy. I'm just saying. Then came my gap between expectation and result. As I was going through stuff in my own life that wasn't working out the way I'd anticipated, I began to take shelter of the methods I'd learned over the years. I wrote down what I was doing, put it all on my corkboard, and voila! 2.5 years later, here it is. Over the past 3 decades, I've given advice to those who sought it from a streetwise New Yorker. I've written songs, books, magazine articles, newspapers, blogs, and spoken for podcasts, radio, and TV shows about my experiences. Shit, I've even been on the spoken word circuit across the globe with people looking to hear about my journey and what it took for me to change. Everyone loves a great underdog story, and boy did I have one. So as I began patting myself on the back a few too many times, falsely thinking I had it all figured out, the universe, with its impeccable timing, was preparing to throw me a 90-mile-an-hour curveball exactly when I needed it. I believe there is a high level of education to be found through hardship, but only if you endure it and look past the false ego. Only then can we map out a path to happiness, actually become happy, and then stay that way. Unlike these fuckers who've written their countless books on the subject of happiness, are assholes to everyone, and who down 3 types of antidepressants before breakfast, I have actually achieved some happiness. I also believe that one of the main factors that contribute to a person living a happy and fulfilled life is setting goals that challenge the depths of his or her human spirit. The opposite is also true. You want to be miserable? Just coast through life folding at challenges and making excuses. That's life, right? Fuck that. Life is what you make of it. And so my mantra is, mediocrity is the coward's path. I mean, seriously, how can you ever expect to have peace of mind when there's a constant gnawing inside you to tap into your infinite potential, but you half-ass it at every step of the way? All the hardships along my road have been there to teach me what I needed at that particular moment. Bottom line lesson, get your shit done. I can truly say I would not change one thing if I had to do it over again. It's all a matter of perspective. What I initially thought was setbacks were in truth blessings. In retrospect, I'm thankful for everything I've been through. Those lessons humbled me tremendously. They made me realize that I still have a long way to go, but as long as I'm willing to fight the good fight every day and slug it out with the enemy mind, I'm going to get there. Above all else, the key is finding something that truly makes you happy and have fun with it. The truth is, if you aren't enjoying something, you'll eventually give it up. People who love what they do are some of the most positive people I know. When you have a passion for the activity, you'll push through even when it's difficult. And you'll strive for perfection in it until you find a deeply honest inner joy and PMA. You can't separate heat and light from fire and still have fire. So PMA and inner joy are similarly inseparable. I want to ask you 2 questions. What are you here to do? What's your dharma, your soul's calling? What are your hopes and dreams, your higher cause, your purpose? Then, how will you wake up today and go after it? I truly hope with all my heart and soul that what you've read in the PMA Effect will help you attain all that you desire and that you will pay it forward. If we work collectively, we can quickly turn things around on this planet. Let's be all in together and let's keep up that PMA. Thank you for your time. Your friend in service, John Joseph. Don't care what they may say, we got that attitude. Don't care what they may do, we got that attitude. Hey, we got that PMA. Hey, we got that PMA. Bad brains, attitude. This has been the PMA Effect. How a positive mental attitude can make you the badass you were born to be. Read by the author, John Joseph. This book was published by Loudspeaker Publishing. It was produced and edited by Jesse Cannon at Found Foundation Recording Studios. For more information, go to thepmaeffect.com. Anyone desiring a free download of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada's original translations of the beautiful Vedic literatures, please find them here. BhaktivedantaVedicLibrary.org. That's BhaktiVedicLibrary.org.